Love is a happy thing, and happy things are happening to me. Love is a happy thing, a groovy light, and it's feeling good, like feeling fine.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Welcome to Between Us Only.
Welcome, guys.
Today, we felt like we wanted to talk about creativity.
Slapping the mic.
We wrote down some questions kind of just to like maybe have a nice little kickoff into that, but Michelle doesn't have the book open, so I don't know where we're going with this. She's eating a peach, and she's a peach.
Thank you. How you been, baby?
I've been really good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Tell the people.
I have been fantastic.
He's been fantastic, guys.
No matter how hard I try, you keep pushing me aside, and I can't break through.
I feel like this room echoing so nicely when you sing.
There's no talking to you. I'm so sad that you're leaving. It takes time to believe in. And after all that's said and done, you're gonna be the lonely one. Oh! Okay.
So Andrew doesn't need any creativity. He just creates it on his own in his head all the time.
Well, she keeps leaving me hanging on these intros. I'm just jabbering and she's standing there.
I just want you to
I want you to have the questions out.
I want you to take the lead.
I did, and then you just sat there, and I didn't know where we were going. What was the first thing we wrote? We wrote something down.
You want to put your phone away?
Nope. What was the first question that we wrote?
The first question that we wrote was...
Or not the first question. What did we phrased it a certain way? Like, the first thing. Literally the first thing that we wrote down.
What inspires creativity?
Yeah, maybe that was it. What's the top of that page? What does this say? No. Back this.
Creativity episode?
What does it say underneath that?
What inspires you?
Okay.
Can I just read the questions that we wrote?
No.
No, but we really wanted to talk about creativity today because we're both in very creative fields. And
This is true.
I don't know, we just want to talk about our process, our mind when it comes to that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, maybe we will inspire some of you guys.
Or maybe we won't.
Or maybe we won't.
And maybe
you will hate us and unfollow.
Maybe go fuck yourself.
No, Andrew, don't
Sorry.
curse.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Andrew.
I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding.
Not gonna be able to monetize. Thank you.
Well, don't we need like 500 subscribers to even be able to?
Yeah, so please follow.
So we don't need to really worry about monetization yet.
Yeah, but still.
Okay,
sorry. First question. What inspires you?
Okay. Next question. No, I don't know. That's what inspires me. I've kind of told you this. I'm like I like to bounce ideas off people. This is funny because like I hated school growing up. I hated school. The reason why I loved skateboarding was because it was something you could do on your own and you can kind of create on your own. But now, as I've gotten older, I actually love like collaborating with people.
Yeah.
And that's like when you're filming a movie or you're doing like a short film or any type of thing in that like media, it's very heavily depends on like everyone around you. It's a very collaborative process. Like, so I don't know. I like bouncing ideas off people and just. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even remember what the question was. What did you say?
What inspires you? So
You inspire me. That's my answer.
I'm your muse?
Yeah, you're my muse. You inspire me.
In what way do I inspire you?
That big, beautiful booty of yours.
Andrew.
I love it. And those beautiful eyes.
You're
But I love
so
her butt.
stupid. You're so stupid. You're not even answering the question. Answer the question. What inspires you? What specifically inspires you?
I don't know. What inspires you? You tell me. I want to hear what you have to say.
Nature inspires me. Other creative people inspire me. Not that I'm collaborating with, but just seeing their creativity, that motivates me to be like, okay, I need to do my own thing.
Okay.
And I mean, that's what they're saying too, with like, you need to spend time, have people around you that pushes you to be the better self.
Yeah.
So if you're around people that are creative, or you're around people that are motivated and driven, you're gonna also become that kind of person.
Yeah.
But I would say like those two. I mean, architecture inspires me. Different like textures. Could be any type of texture.
Yeah.
Inspires
well,
me a lot.
you make like those like storyboards that literally mood boards.
Yeah.
That have like they usually have like a certain color skew. Then there's architecture, and then there's like not even sometimes clothing. It's just like fabric.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
So, which I think is interesting. But okay,
Well,
so
that was because like in school, I always was told like when you put together a mood board, don't put clothing on that mood board. Put everything else that inspires you, because if you put a piece of clothing on that mood board, you're gonna draw designs that are similar to that design.
That makes sense.
Rather than if you you put a building on your mood board, you're gonna bring out shapes from that building and create pieces. You understand?
Yeah, no, I completely understand. No, I mean, that's, I guess, okay, going back to when you asked me the question originally, I guess things that inspire me are like great storytellers or like really good movies, but even like bad movies inspire me. Like, I mean, people that you would classify as a bad movie, that are still entertaining. I don't know. I mean, there's lots of movies that people consider bad. Like if you look at reviews and stuff, but I mean, people say, I don't know, people say The Matrix is not a good movie. Yeah. I think I just watched this yesterday, but I think The Matrix is awesome. I think Keanu Reeves is a fucking great actor. He's entertaining. But people would say, if you look at all of his reviews, people are pretty brutal about his acting.
Well, there's the thing about reviews too, is like, people are more likely to leave a bad review than to leave a good review.
Yeah.
So.
But movies inspire me. Actors inspire me. Robin Williams, Chris Farley, those guys are really inspiring to watch anytime I watch anything that they do.
Yeah.
Brendan Fraser is inspiring. The Mummy is a great movie, but people would classify as probably...
The Mummy is a great movie.
No, I know it is. Oh, like everything about it's a great movie. But there would be certain... people be like, it's not good. It's like, shut the fuck up.
It's great. It's great.
Well,
let's jump into the next question.
Okay.
What's your process of gathering and staying creative?
What's my process? These are hard questions. I mean, I watch a lot of movies, and I take ideas that I see things that I want to try, and then whenever I get an audition, I don't necessarily like have it in the forefront of my mind like I'm going to try this, but it's more of like in my subconscious that I'm going to be, I feel like I try certain things that I've seen.
Yeah. Well, let me put it in a different perspective. You book a movie or a show, and you need to gather your creativity to build this character. Mm-hmm. What's your process of building that character?
Okay, that's a good, I can answer that. Well, pretty much I start with the material. Everything on the page, I study front to back, and I like to memorize all my lines, like as quickly as I possibly can. But yeah, study the material, and then from there I kind of like, I like to, if there's no backstory for the character that's in the text, I kind of build a backstory for them in a sense, but it's not so much that I'm like, I mean, I do write things down. Like I usually have a character journal, and I write things down in there that I will think of, like as the character, and I always write it in like first person as the character. But I like to sit and like imagine like actual memories as the character, and try to like instill those memories, I guess, into my mind. And then sometimes I'll take things from my real life and kind of apply them into those memories to try to make them feel more real, I guess. But it's like, I mean, I spend a lot of, like, in between working, I spend a lot of time at home with the dogs.
Yeah.
So I'm like, my day is like, I wake up super early, I go over the material, like 5 a.m. I'm up and I'm like working on the material. I feel like those before 8 or 9 o'clock, that's where I get a lot of work done. But then I go to the gym and then I work out, and like while I'm at the gym, I'm either listening to the material on audio, or I'm listening to something that I think could help me with the character. And then when I get home, I'm home with the dogs, talking to myself and like going over lines, and then just sitting and thinking about the character's life, and like actual in detail thinking about memories of like just the room that the character's in, and feeling things in the room, and then attaching that to the memory, I guess. So it's like, it's a lot of the work I'm doing is just in my head.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's like you're building your own mood board in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are hard questions.
But it's good to talk about.
Yeah.
I think it's good for us too to like, I don't know, like go over the process in our own heads and being like, what do I actually do?
Yeah.
And see.
But I mean, and then sometimes for the most part, that's generally what I do for everything.
Yeah.
You know, like everything starts with the text, I think, and everything should be found in the text. But I mean, sometimes it's like, sometimes I only have a couple days. You know, like there's been more. This happens more often than not. Like I have a week tops, but with The Secret Life of a Dominatrix, like I booked that and I was on set like a couple days later shooting. Like we were shooting. So I had the weekend in the hotel room and I watched a bunch of like serial killer documentaries, and watched a lot of documentaries on Ted Bundy. And he was super charismatic and like very outgoing, which was like not a common trait for serial killers.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, I was like, the character I was playing, he was a very successful lawyer.
Yeah.
He seemed like he had the perfect life. So
wait, he was a lawyer?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So there's like one scene.
It's giving American Psycho.
Well, there's one scene when I'm talking about how I've like. It doesn't matter. I'm not gonna get into that. But but yeah, he in order to get that high up in a firm and be that successful, and everybody perceives you as this like put together family man type guy. It's like there's certain traits that you need to like have, I guess. But that was like quick. Like that was such a quick turnaround. But I'm going to ask you the question now, which I forgot the question. So.
The question is, what's your process of gathering and staying creative?
Yeah, that one.
That one. For gathering creativity, I feel like it comes back to like what inspires me. So I gather things that I feel inspired by. And my biggest go-to right now is Pinterest. Mm-hmm. I love Pinterest. I love working with images, because you know the saying of like there's so many words in one image. Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah. I know what you mean though. What's the actual saying?
Well, now I'm thinking of the way you just said it, and I can't think of the actual way that it's said.
There's 1,000 words in one image.
You're making me think even further from it. Everyone that's listening is probably screaming it at the computer right now. God damn it.
An image can say 1,000 words.
That sounds closer.
Yeah, that sounds closer. But you guys know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I have, if you guys went to my Pinterest, don't. It's locked. I'm very secretive with my Pinterest, I've noticed. Most of it is locked. But I have so many folders. And my folders are packed and packed. Like, I think some of these folders have like 20, 30,000 images in it. Because I'm just packing in. Like, when I need some kind of, like, if I feel down and I need like a little boost, I always go on Pinterest and I just like pin some stuff into different folders, and then I'm happy. And then when I need to gather actual inspiration, I have these different folders. Like, I have folders for just fashion. I have folders for autumn fashion. I have folders for summer fashion. So there's 3 different folders just for fashion.
Yeah.
I have folders with just stuff that are green. I have folders with stuff that just have textures. I have folders with just food. Like, there's so many different folders that I have for like nitty gritty stuff. And it could also just be folders with just aesthetics.
Yeah. I mean, I see you on Pinterest all the time when you're in the bedroom.
And as you said, I love building mood boards. I feel like a mood board, it's so, like, I did this year, January, I built, what is it called? Not a mood board, kind of a mood board, like a mood board for the year. What is that called?
I don't.
Like a manifestation board.
Oh, okay.
Like for things that I manifest for the next year. And I think like putting all of that in front of you, it not only inspires you, it pushes you and makes you more driven. But that's like my first step in getting the process. And that could be a step that I'm working on for months, or it could be a step that I'm working on for 10 minutes. And then after that, it's down to start sketching. And I have these croquis that I draw, that I have on my iPad, that I can just print out. And
that you made.
That I made.
Yeah.
And you just like do little quick sketches, and then you can go in and do like a more detailed sketch.
Yeah.
And then it's down to doing the patterns. And you can either drape it, or you can draft it. Drafting is that you draw on paper and then you cut out, and then you cut out the pieces and like that. Draping is that you drape on a dress form.
Yeah.
And then once you've done that, you do a sample. Once the sample is fitted, you get the actual fabric, you cut it all out in the fabric, and then you sew it. That's like the nitty gritty of the design process.
Yeah.
And then of course everybody works differently. And it also depends on like what kind of thing I'm doing. Am I doing it for myself, or am I doing it for someone else?
Mm-hmm.
If I do it for myself, I almost never make a sample. I just wing it because it's more fun. But then it also comes down to like, you need to have, because I think the hardest thing for me to sit down and actually sew, like I need to know that the rest of the day is empty. Like I have nothing else that needs to be done. And I always tell you this when I'm like,
when she starts sewing, it's like that's where she's at all day.
Yeah.
Like from sun up to sundown, she'll just be sewing at the machine.
Yeah. And I tell him, I was like, hey, I'm going to be sewing today. And he's just like, okay, I guess I'm not seeing you.
It's like, I guess I'm going to watch like 50 movies today while you do that.
Because like having something else that's in my head being like, oh, this needs to be done today, that stresses me out and I can't focus and I make a lot of mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Because like sewing comes down to having really good patience with like, you need to take things in the order and the time that it takes to do it.
Yeah. I feel like your career, or your craft, whatever you want to call it, is very like physical.
Yeah.
Like you have these steps of like that you can follow.
Mm-hmm. Yours is more mental.
Well, and that's also one of the biggest issues I have with acting.
Yeah.
Is that I can go into my head, like during scenes. I go into my head a little bit too much, and like I've gotten better at it. And I've gotten really good at being more instinctual, and like every time I work on something, I get better. But it's funny though, because like I'm in my head all day thinking about these characters, thinking about like.
Yeah.
Thinking about the scene, thinking about the text, and like it's very hard to I don't know, it's hard to put into words because it's like in my head, you know.
Yeah.
But like I see your process of like kind of how you work because it is so physical. I see you when you're sketching. I see you when you're on Pinterest. I see you when you're making those mood boards.
Yeah.
I see when you're sewing.
Yeah.
I've seen when you're draping the mannequins. Like
Yeah.
I've seen that whole process, and it's very like checklisty type of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like it's interesting to like see how you work, and then when I'm sitting there on the couch and I'm just like quietly sitting there drinking coffee with like I do have like my notebook in front of me or something, but I'm just like kind of sitting there, and it's like I look like I'm not doing anything, but I'm like sitting there thinking about the character.
I know, yeah.
But it's very funny. But I'm sorry I'm cutting you off, but I did
No,
want to
you're
say
good.
one thing.
Yeah.
I find like music is very inspiring to me too. Like I've kind of used it for things in the past, like past characters, but like the thing I did with Marciano, like the Wait short, I used music pretty much that whole time, which I've never really done. Like I was listening to music before scenes. Typically I'm not like that. Typically I'm like I like to be engaged with everyone on set and like kind of talking because it makes me feel more relaxed when we start the scene. Mm-hmm. But that short film, because it was so like it was so the stakes that I was dealing with were so high, so it was like a very emotional like short film type thing. So I was just like listening to music that makes me kind of like tap into those feelings I needed, which I've never really done before, which helped me a lot actually.
Yeah, that's good.
So I was gonna say like music kind of helps inspire me in a sense.
Yeah. Let's jump to the next one.
Okay.
What type of environments do you feel the most creative in?
I mean, again, I think like when I'm on a set, that's when I feel like it's because there's ideas bouncing off. Like, again, before I got to that day of shooting, all I've been thinking about was that scene or that whatever was leading up to that scene. And when I get there, I kind of have an idea. Like I know acting teachers and people would say like, oh, you shouldn't plan out what you're going to do. It's not that I plan out, but I kind of envision what's going to happen. And then what you want to do is like forget it when you start the scene. But I mean, it's still like kind of in your subconscious, you know? But
yeah.
What I love is when you get to set, you start working with that other character or with that other actor.
Yeah.
And they throw things at you that you never would have expected.
Yeah.
And then everything is just new and fresh. And then after that, the director comes up to you and gives you this totally different adjustment that you never thought about. So it's like when I'm in that environment, that's like where I feel the most creative, I think. But I don't know. Sometimes I get boosts of energy at home and I just want to like make something, you know, like, and then I'll do like a stupid Instagram video or like, that's when I'm very active doing that stuff. That means it's like when I'm making those like weird videos, which I haven't really much anymore, but it's like, that's when I have like no auditions, nothing's coming in, like, and I need to like do something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But what about you?
I would say like being out in public,
Mm-hmm.
which is, I love people watching.
Yeah.
I love sitting at like a cafe and just watching people. I love being in places that are usually very crowded, but being there at a time when there's like no people there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like go to a library. Like for me, like maybe library is not a good thing to say. But for me, when I was in school still, we had a library in school, and during the day that place was always packed. Like there was always people there. It was crowded, people were talking, because it wasn't like a quiet library. Like you could sit there and work. And I used to go there in the evenings, like at 7 or 8, and it was completely empty and it was completely quiet, and you could like feel your whole head just got like quiet, and you just found like those things that you needed to think about, because everything was just like so still.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So like moments like that, like that's the reason, like I love, for example, I love driving through downtown in the morning, like on a weekend morning, like Saturday morning, because downtown is so quiet on like a Saturday morning, and that just makes my head just be like, oh my god, like I just want to do shit today. And I don't feel that creative in our house, in our apartment, and I think it has a lot to do with natural lighting. When I'm in a place that's like nicely lit with natural lighting, I get super creative. But once it gets like dimmed and like darker, that just makes me feel like small and like little bit. That's why I hate when you pull the blinds all the time.
I like living in the dark. Yeah, there's a fly. Yeah, I like.
He's like a vampire.
I am like a vampire.
Not a good combo.
Well, this is the thing that's funny, is because like I like going to the gym and people watching, but when I'm at the gym, this damn fly.
I know.
When I'm at the gym, I have like a purpose, you know?
Yeah.
Like I know what I'm doing there, like, and I have like the workouts I need to do. But while I'm doing that, I like watching people. Like I'm like, I don't know, just the people watching thing. Like I do enjoy that. Yeah. But when I'm out at a cafe or like, you know how I am, I'm very like, I finish my coffee, I eat my food, and I'm like,
he's like, okay, can we go now? And I'm like, no, like I want to sit here and just like.
Which I try to get better at that with you. I've tried to get better at that, but it's like I also come at that in a perspective of like working in the food industry. Yeah. And when you have like a table and you're like,
but I mean, even if we go to like the park and we sit in the park, you can sit for like maybe tops 5 minutes, and then you're like, okay, let's go. Yeah. You get like stressed out by sitting still. Yeah. This is true. Maybe you do have some letter combination.
What are you trying to say? Like ADD?
Maybe.
I won't probably 100% have that.
Because you can't be still.
Yeah. I don't know though. It's
But one thing that I do want to say about environments is I learned a long time ago that they were like, don't ever like do homework or do work in your bedroom. Like, don't have your desk in your bedroom, because you create like an energy in that room that makes you like focusing on work and focusing on like, so when it's time for you to go to bed, that energy is still in that room. That's why I kind of hate having our computer desk in the bedroom. Like I wish we had it somewhere else. I wished I had an office, but we don't. Yeah. But that's like a big thing, because like because it's either or. Like either you have the work setting, you know, either the room is filling with like a work energy, or it's full with like a relaxing sleeping energy. And if it's sleeping, then you can't do work in there, but if it's work, you can't sleep. So like environment has a big thing. Okay, let's do the next question. Or do you have anything else you want to talk about in the environment?
No, I mean, I like being alone, kind of in being on set. I feel like I have a lot of creative juices flowing and like bouncing off people. But like when I'm doing the preparation leading up to being on set, like I kind of like to be alone for that, you know? Yeah. Because it's a lot of mental stuff. But yeah, I don't know.
Next question is, do you think creativity is necessary in life?
100%. 100%.
100%.
I mean, we just watched Dead Poet Society.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember the scene with Robin Williams when he's saying, I'm going to butcher this, like we just watched this like a week or so ago, but when he's saying like the world needs doctors and lawyers and these are all honorable pursuits, but we do all of that for like art and music and like all of that like feeds your soul. Or I'm like really ruining this right now.
You are. You kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know the saying exact. But
remember when he's sitting there and he tells everyone
I
to come
know.
closely to him, and
I
they're
know.
in the. But yeah, I
Oh my
think
God,
I
this
think
fly is pissing me off.
I
Jesus Christ.
the world doesn't need this fucking fly though. No, but I think it's definitely it's necessary. I mean,
Yeah. I think so too, because like, yes, we do need all the practical stuff, but I feel like all the creative stuff is the things that make you want to get out of bed in the morning. Like, it's the things that inspires you to move forward when things seem dull in life.
yeah.
Like just putting on your favorite sweater, or if you're sad, you put on your favorite movie.
Yeah.
Or you listen to music to motivate you. You like when you work out, you listen to
Well,
music.
I just think to make anything like worthwhile, it involves creativity. Because like, I mean, just think of any.
Because anything entertaining is a creative thing.
Well, not even just that. It's like, think of a job. Think of like a boring job that most people like stereotypically would say is like not a great job, but the people that excel in those jobs are the people that like kind of think outside the box and are creative with it. And that goes for any field.
Yeah.
If you're a doctor that is very creative in the way you approach how you take care of your patients, you're probably going to excel more than the guy that's just there
Or
to
just creative of looking at things from a different perspective to find.
Yeah, so I think creativity is like completely necessary
true.
to just be good at anything.
Yeah.
You know, like,
because creativity is also not just creating things. It's literally, as you say, thinking in different perspectives.
yeah. And if you're just there and you're just like, the only thing you're giving is your time and nothing else, you're just like, you're just checking the boxes and doing the bare minimum and not thinking outside of the box, you know, like, then I mean, what are
purpose?
what are you offering except for the manpower and your time, you know?
Yeah. Are you happy?
But that's, I mean, what I think is interesting about that is like every shitty job that I've had, I always approached it with a certain type of work ethic that I learned from my grandpa. And I tried to be enthusiastic about everything that I've done, even if it, like, when I dishwashed at Stone Brewery for like the first 6 months before I started going on to being, I started bussing tables, and then I went on to serving, and then went on to doing like event bartending and all that stuff. Me and the guys in the back, when we were washing dishes, like, we had fun. And I tried to be, we had like, it was there would be 2 to 3 guys on each side of the dishwashing line, and there was a machine we would run. And I tried to be as quick as I could, racking the dishes in the rack and spraying off the food and putting it through. Like, we tried to like do competitions of who could be the fastest with getting the dishes washed and get them back in the thing. And that was just a creative thing that we did. And then I remember the head chef in the back like pulled me aside, and he's like, this job sucks, but you're making everybody back here like kind of work harder because you're making it fun in a sense.
Yeah.
And I was one of the first people to get Employee of the Month at that place when they started doing Employee of the Month. But that's what I'm saying is like,
Employee of the Month what are you doing?
My elbows keep hitting this. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. But that's what I'm saying though. Is like, creativity is 100% necessary.
Yeah.
Just makes everything more enjoyable.
Yeah, I agree with you. How do you get out of an uncreative, uninspiring hole?
Well, that's hard.
I think it really depends on, first of all, like, in what way? Because I feel like there's different levels of how uninspired you feel. For me, I think it's just like I just force myself. Like I try to think of things in a new perspective, maybe try to
The fly was on your...
try new things, like things I haven't done, like when I was painting with the clay, or like you just try new things and try to see if that can like kick it in.
Yeah.
Because like the more creative stuff you do, the more creative mindset you get. Like you inspire yourself by being creative. So if you don't practice it, you're gonna lose it.
Yeah. I think for me, I mean, I definitely probably like have something wrong with me. I have like bouts of depression. Like I'll be really, really up, and then I feel completely drained from it, and then I'm like really, really low. And so I'm confusing these. I can confuse like not feeling creative with like when I'm in those holes of depression that I can go into.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like when I get like that, the only thing that really gets my mind off of it is like if I work out really, really hard.
Yeah.
And like I work out every day, but I'll have moments where it's like I go to the gym for 2.5 hours, then I go do the sauna for like, I'll turn the sauna on at our apartment, and then I work out in our gym for like 45 minutes to an hour, and then do the sauna for 30 minutes. And then sometimes I'll go on a run at the park, and like the whole day involves me working out. Yeah. And those are like when my brain is just like not working and I feel like shit. It's just like, I'm just like, okay, well, my brain is not being productive, so I'm just going to work the hell out of my body today, you know? And sometimes that will kick it out of it because like I'll be so exhausted that I can't think about anything. But I don't know. It's like I go through those droughts and then I get an audition that I'm like, I fucking want to play this character so bad. And then that gets me out of the hole. I'm like, all of a sudden I'm like, that's all I'm thinking about. And then that's all I'm working on. And then I do the audition, and then my agent's like, that was really great. I'm just like, let's keep going. Like, so it's...
Because I know I've told you when you were like being down from time to time. I remember like during the strike, I was telling you, because there weren't any auditions coming in, and
sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable. I'm sorry.
And Jesus. And I was telling you to pick a movie, pick a scene from that movie, and recreate that scene. Just to have something creative to do.
Well,
you never did it, but...
No, but see, because you saying that...
It doesn't give you a purpose behind it.
Well, no, it's not that it's not a purpose. It's like, I've done that, not exactly what you're saying, but like, I find monologues from plays or anything, and I will record myself. Like, I learn the monologue, I work it like it's something that I'm going to do, and then I'll record myself, and then I watch it. That was something I've always kind of done, but the strike was just a different... I mean, I did work on stuff like that during the strike, but the strike was just... It was so draining because it felt like it was never going to end, and...
Yeah.
It was... I don't know. But... I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to get out of holes.
Do you have a first memory of being creative and getting praised for it?
Oh yeah, I do actually.
You do? What is it?
So I had a couple things that I was trying to think of, but like I really remember this one moment where I was playing. We had a playroom at I think it might have been at our Brown house after my parents already split. I can't remember how old I was, but we had a playroom with like all of my sister's stuff, both my sisters, they had a lot of like Barbie doll dresses, like Barbie doll clothes, Barbie doll playhouses, like, and then I had toys in there too, but it felt like it was mostly a lot of their stuff.
Yeah.
It was like everywhere. In my bedroom, I had all of my toys like set up, like in fighting mode and stuff. Like it was kind of like more like a museum in my bedroom, which is weird. But I was down there. This was when I was still like pretty into Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And I found this red sparkly dress. It was a one strap sparkly dress.
Yeah.
And my mom said that I saw that, and I grabbed it and I slid it over my hand with the strap going like in between my pointer finger and my middle finger, and I pulled it down over my hand, and she said that I like looked at it, and I was like, and I thought it was like a Michael Jackson glove. And she said the look on my face, I was just like, I was amazed by it. And then I wore that Barbie dress like on my hand as a glove for like, I mean, forever. It became mine after that.
Yeah.
But she talked about, I remember hearing her talk about that and telling her friends, and she was like, she's like, isn't that really cute of him to do? And like it, but the way that she talked about it, she sounded proud that I did that, you know?
Yeah.
So that's like one of my first things that I remember.
We have a garbage truck outside, so if you hear that, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I keep bumping the chair, so this one's gonna be a bumpy ride.
It's a bumpy ride. I did. I was a nightmare child.
Yeah.
To begin with, I always collected like trash.
She still does. She still does this.
To like make things out of. Like
Yeah.
my parents were always like, you always brought home like sawdust from wood shop and said, I can make something out of this. So that was like me my whole life. But I remember, oh my god, they're being so loud.
It's a garbage truck.
I grabbed like these 3 stones, and it was like 1 bigger stone and 2 small stones, and I like glued the 2 small stones on top of the big stone, so it looked like 2 little characters sitting on the stone, and I draw like little eyes on them, and then I wrote something on the big stone, and like it looks so silly, but I don't
Do
even.
you still have it?
My parents still have that thing.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, it's like the oldest thing that I can remember that my parents kept. But it was just like something silly, you know, just to create. I glued a lot of things together as a child.
I used to make a lot of costumes and stuff.
Yeah.
Like to play characters, and
Yeah.
I would find things that would look kind of similar to the actual character's thing, and I would make that into a costume. And so, I mean, that's, God, you still bring trash home.
There's so much trash. Hold on, let's pause it.
It's not that bad.
Do you want to do the next question?
Yeah.
The next is not really a question. I just wanted to bring this up. It's a saying in fashion called "kill your darlings." Do you know what that is?
I have no idea.
So it basically means to take something that you feel is very like, I want to say ugly in a way. Like this is more like as a fashion trend, you take like a piece of clothing that you do not like. So like say one piece of clothing that you don't like.
Yes.
Tell me a piece of clothing.
I don't like really long shorts.
Bermuda shorts?
I don't know. Sure, Bermuda. I don't know. Just shorts that are like kind of almost to the point of like capri pants, like shorts that Adam Sandler wears when he's walking around.
That's like Bermuda shorts. Okay, so kill your darlings would be like you have to make something that is a Bermuda short that you think is like a more creative and somewhat cool concept for you. So you take something that you do not like and you turn it into something you like.
Yeah.
So like for me back then when I first got introduced to this expression was maxi denim skirts. I hated them. And then I was like, okay, what can I make that makes me somewhat like them a little bit more? And I think it's a really cool concept because it really challenged you to take something that you do not like and think of it in a different perspective to make it more appealing.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, that's the thing about fashion too, is like you always need to, you don't have to invent the wheel again, but it's good to find different perspectives of things that already exist.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good approach with anything in life.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, why don't you like that thing?
Yeah.
Take a closer look at it, examine it, and then who knows, you find out you're like, actually, like, I just didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't used to it, or it was unknown to me.
Or I was just stuck looking at it from one perspective.
Yeah. But that's like a really good way to look at life, I think.
Yeah. That's why I kind of wanted to bring it up, because I'm like, I've only heard that expression in fashion, but I was like, that's a good expression to apply for life overall.
Yeah. I think too, just not being married to your ideas.
Yeah.
You know, because they're just ideas. And
Yeah.
like, I think that's like a disservice to yourself of like growing as a person. If you're gonna be like, I don't like that, I don't like this.
Well,
I don't like this fucking fly though.
Yeah.
Give me your book, I'm gonna kill him.
No. Like, you need to like your ideas, because if you don't even like them, why should anybody else do? But you don't have to love them. You don't have to love all of them.
You can. What I mean by not married to your ideas is being like this.
So dead stuck on it.
Well, just like, this is the only way.
Yeah.
Because it's.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you need to like them, but you don't have to love them.
I mean, you can love your ideas.
Yeah.
I think that's like not the point. The point is that it's just.
Yeah.
It's not the only way.
Yeah.
But.
Next question. Do you strive to be unique?
I don't strive. I think it's just more of like a disability.
Okay.
No,
In what way?
I don't know. There's probably something wrong with me.
Stop saying that. Try to express it in words instead.
I just do things that are not
Does it make you feel good to be unique?
Most of the time, I don't realize that I'm doing certain things. That, like, for instance, Jeremy Batiste, who's an actor, he said something to me a little bit ago, saying he's like, God, how did he word it? He said in like the sense of like, I like how you just, like, when I'm on set, I'm really weird. Like, I'll just say things that literally, like, I have no filter. I think it and I say it. Some things that we fight about all the time, like, you say, you can't say that to me, like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm sorry, it like popped in my head and I said it. He like complimented me on that. He was saying that you're
thinking without speaking?
I think the term he said, he's like, you seem very
you speak before you
authentic.
think?
You're like very authentic in the way that you act, which I took as a compliment, but I think I made a joke. I was like, thank you, it's a disorder. But I don't know. I don't like strive to be that way. I mean, sometimes I feel like I have to put a cap on it, you know, because it can be, I've been on like commercials. This has happened mainly on, I mean, I've been on different sets and stuff, but like I did a thing in Bermuda. Remember the sandals thing I did?
Yeah.
Everybody did not like me on that. Like all of the models on that were in their early 20s.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was like 31 or 30. I was like 31, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. But I was acting way more immature than everybody. I was just super stoked. I was like, we're getting paid so much money to just hang out and like do all this
At
stuff.
a resort.
And yeah, like, so I was just talking a lot and like just being weird like I typically am. And all of the models would like, they would all plan to go get dinner. There's a hummingbird. They would all plan to go get dinner after each day of shooting.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't invite me. And I remember feeling so hurt about it. I was like, what's wrong with me?
God, you were the old weird man on set.
I was not weird in that sense. I was, if anything, I seemed like
I'm
seemed.
kidding. I'm
No,
kidding.
it was like what gen is that?
Gen Z.
They were just like, they're all on set and they're like, and I'm like, I'm like this is fucking crazy, guys. It's like we're fucking shooting right on the ocean. And
I love how you were acting like this is the coolest thing ever. Well, you also done those kinds of like things at least 2 times before.
Well, no, I've done a lot of jobs that are like
but I mean like
the tourism
yeah.
shoots. But every time I do them, they still blow my mind. They don't. I'm never gonna get used to that because it's like I'm like, we're getting paid to be on vacation. Like the biggest regret is like every time I do that stuff, it's like I can't experience it with you.
Yeah.
But
I'm just at home and he's just like on a white beach with the turquoise water and driving jet skis, and I'm just like at home being like,
I wish you were there. But no, I don't know. Like that was. I don't know why I went on this tangent. This keeps happening, huh?
yeah. The question was, do you strive to be unique?
I'm gonna go back to my original question. It's a disorder. What about you? Do you strive to be unique?
Not really. Not really. I strive to be loving what I do, and if the thing that I'm most passionate about at the moment is not super unique, then I'm still happy. But if it is a unique thing, then that makes me love it even more.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not something I really strive for.
Yeah.
Like, of course, being unique is gonna be an advantage because it's something that's not out there. But if it's not something that I'm not passionate about, I'm not gonna force it just to be unique.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's I mean that's like a perfect answer to the question, because it if you're trying to be different, chances are you're not going to be different. Like I think it just goes to like, if you're acting on instinct and you're following your heart, like what you truly feel, like how you just said, passionate about,
it is going to be unique because every person is unique.
Well, I mean, everybody just has a different perspective on how they look at things. So, I mean, it's just, I mean, I can use this with like, I can apply it to anything. Like with scene work, like when you're doing an audition, there's a way, like a stereotypical way you could do it that you think, oh, the casting director might like this. And luckily I've gotten to a point with my acting now that it's like, that's the furthest from my fucking mind. When I do an audition, I'm like, I am going to enjoy this personally. I don't give a shit if the casting director likes it or not. Like, I'm going to do it so that I get something from this, because right now I get to play a character and I'm just going to do what my first instincts tell me to do with him. And if they don't like it, that's their problem, not mine. Like, I'm not right for it then, I guess.
Yeah.
But what you just said was perfect way to answer that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What is creativity for you? I feel like we kind of already answered it. Yeah. But if you have any more,
these seem like they should be such like easy things to say, but I don't. It's what is creativity to me? It's like I don't know. I'm creating something meaningful that inspires you and that fills your cup up. You know, like and that could be anything. Yeah. Be loading the dishwasher a certain way that you think is right. Yeah. Michelle likes to do it it's the only thing that you're really like precise about. Oh my God. Cleaning.
I saw this one post that was like, in every couple, there is one person who loads the dishwasher like a Swedish architect, and the other one does it like a rabbit raccoon. And I was like, baby, you're the raccoon. Yeah. I hate how you load the silverware. The silverware stresses me out.
Well, guess what? I'm the only one that does the dishes
He
in
does
the
like
house, so
he does like spoon, fork, knife, spoon, knife, fork, and then like because when I do it, I do like all the spoons on this side, all the knives on this side or forks on this side, and then all the knives in the middle. So when you
Hey.
unload it, you
When-
can just grab everything at once.
When she
smooth and
loads
easy.
it-
Also, when you load all the other stuff,
listen to me. When she
he
loads the
takes up
dishwasher,
so much space because he loads it like a crazy person.
when she loads the
And
dishwasher,
he used to work as a dishwasher man.
Yeah.
He was employee of the month as a dishwasher.
I was great. When I get
and
paid,
he cannot load a dishwasher.
start paying me for doing the dishes, and it'll be different.
Sure.
When you have certain standards that you want me to uphold, and I'm getting a paycheck,
Yeah.
I'll do it differently.
Well,
Um,
it's like how I make the bed.
yeah, she makes it not good.
Yeah. No, but I think for me, I was always so dead set on like creativity is, or not creativity is, I was more set on it doesn't really matter what I do for work as long as I can be creative and work with my hands.
Yeah.
You know?
Which I think,
Like I was looking into fashion designer. I was looking into being a florist. I was looking into being a architect. I was looking into being an interior designer. Like all the things, because those are fields where you have to be creative. Some more creative than others, but you have to be creative. And I don't know, for me creativity is just like it's fuel for life for me.
yeah.
Like if I wasn't allowed to be creative, I would be very depressed.
Mm-hmm. I get to be creative all the time, and I'm still have moments of depression. So if I didn't have it, I would be really messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next question.
Next question.
Do you critique your own work?
You already know the answer to that. I'm my worst critic. I tear my shit up so bad, and I know it's a problem, and I've worked on doing different techniques about being kinder to myself, which has definitely like helped me. But whenever I do something, it's just, that's just how I'm wired. I have to pick it apart. I feel like I've seen too much positive from how much I critique myself, if that makes sense. Like when I was a skateboarder, I was so hard on myself to the point where like this, people might think this sounds crazy, but it's kind of common for skateboarders to be like this. You're trying a trick, you don't land it, you fall, you get up and you're like I'm gonna fucking do it this try. Like there's been times where I'll hit myself in the head with my skateboard, and then I run back up the stairs, and then I'll land it.
Yeah.
So that's like the farthest extent of being really hard on myself, to where it's like I'll hit myself, and that sounds crazy, and it's probably not the best thing to do, but that's what I used.
The best method.
Yeah, that's what I used to like. I would do that pretty often, and there's definitely footage of me doing that. Like my buddy Joel probably has a bunch of footage of me like hitting myself while I'm trying to do tricks that I haven't landed. But going back to now, it's like I watch one of my performances in something and I just tear it apart, and
You do.
I drill that into my head to like make sure that I don't do what I did in that again on the next one. And it's like, I'm not the best actor in the world, but I've grown from every performance, and maybe I need to be nicer to myself, but it's working because I am getting better. So
Yeah, but I also feel like once you get like good critique, or not critique, once you get good, good critique. Because
what do you mean?
like once someone is like praising something that you did,
Yeah,
not me, you don't listen to me,
I listen.
but anybody else, anytime I say I like something of yours, you just like, you're such a liar. But if someone else tells you like, hey, you did a really good job here, I'm so proud of you, blah blah, you do take that to heart.
No, I do. I mean, it means a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it always means a lot. I have a real problem where I read reviews that people write, and
You should just stop reading reviews.
I know I should stop, but sometimes I
Because
do.
you let others' opinion affect your own opinion.
Well,
about
I
stuff.
kind of use that as fuel, though. I think it's funny when people say that I should quit, and I'm just like, you're an idiot if you think I'm ever gonna quit. I think that's hilarious when people say that. It's like, well, now I'm definitely not gonna quit.
Well, that's good though. But
Yeah.
I do feel like you, if anybody's gonna make you quit, is your own mindset.
Yeah,
Because you are very hard on yourself.
yeah, but see, that's lower. That's the sense where it's like I'm a lunatic in that way. It's like,
Lunatic.
no, I for real am. Like the only reason why I had to give up skateboarding was because I physically couldn't do it at the level I was doing it before I got hurt.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why. And I would tell my friends and family, I was like, I will quit skateboarding on like if I physically can't do it or I die doing it. Like those are the only two options. And then I couldn't do it anymore. And so now I just took that mindset and put it towards acting now. So it's like I'm gonna do this until I'm dead, until I physically can't do it anymore.
Scares me.
Yeah.
But also, I love your drive.
I love your drive too, baby. And thank you for always being very motivating and kind, and when you give me a compliment, sometimes I'm just like, I mock you. But most of the time I'm just like, I do this thing. She tells me and I'm just like, I love you. Like it makes me you this just happened.
Yeah. It's okay.
No, but yeah, okay. You answered the question now.
You answer now.
Say it one more time though. Say the question one more time.
Do you critique your own work? I think a fault that we both have is that we're both perfectionists. Like we want it to be as perfect as we can imagine it.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not up to that standard, we are naturally going to critique it. And I also think that we finish our projects in our head way before it's actually finished. And if the physical result is not the same as the mental result, we're automatically going to be like,
Let down.
yeah, like it's not good enough.
Yeah.
And I think is a fault that we both do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also very good at like just letting go. Like if I'm not happy with it, I'm very good at just letting go of it and then just, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
Which I'm happy that I can do that, because I don't think I would be able to continue if I got so stuck in my own like I probably wouldn't be a designer today if I was stuck in my head for that kind of matter.
Yeah.
Because as a designer, you run into so many setbacks, like working.
Yeah.
And it's never gonna be as you thought in your head.
I think because of what you do, it's very physical, that you can put it out of sight.
Yeah.
Because it's like a physical piece.
Yeah, it's harder for you because it is so mental.
Well, it's just there's so many different steps. It's
Yeah.
like you work on this thing with a bunch of people, and then it goes into the editing process, and then you talk with those people about it, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to see it.
Well, that's the
and
thing
then,
too that's different for you, is that like you do your performance and then you drop it into someone else's hands to finish up the result.
Yeah. But then it's not just like doing the performance, because a lot of people, like a lot of actors, they do it and then they wash their hands of it and move on, and that's fine. But I think like going to like social media and like having that avenue of stuff, it's like I also feel kind of obligated to like promote the work, even if I don't fully like what I did in it.
Yeah.
I loved the experience of it. I loved working with all the people. So then I have this obligation inside of me that I feel like, okay, I need to promote this now.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it also comes down to you did a job, and you're always going to be somewhat proud of landing that job, because like thinking back of how it was a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago, getting that opportunity back then would have been amazing.
Yeah.
So you're never allowed to really minimize that either, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like you can't be too hard on yourself either, because like you are where you are because of experience.
Yeah.
And you also have to always look back on how far you've come.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree with that, but it's easier said than done.
This next question is kind of leads into that.
Sorry, this damn fly is just like, okay.
This next question is kind of the same area a little bit, I want to say. It says, has rejection ever affected your creative process?
I mean, when I first started, I think it did a little bit, but I don't know. The only thing that rejection ever did, I guess, really, is just made me want to try harder, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that, like, the projection of it was like, at the beginning, I wanted to please casting directors. I always kind of did what I thought was the right way to do a scene, which made me not unique. It just made me do like a safe choice.
Yeah.
And I did that a bunch, which I think at the end of the day was like good practice. I mean, it was just good practice doing that. But then I got to a certain point where I was like, they're probably going to say no, so I might as well do this how I want to do it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that was a real turning point for me, because I mean, that was probably really like doing the American Boogie Woman audition. Like, I gave no fucks on that. I was just like, I don't give a fuck. Like
It's so funny, like, thinking back of that, because that was in like the fall of 2020.
Yeah.
We had like kind of just moved in together.
Yeah.
And we get this audition, and we were like, let's get it just over with.
Yeah, because it was so close to Christmas. And
Yeah. And we literally did the audition in our Christmas pajamas.
Yeah.
So Andrew's in his Christmas pajamas doing this audition.
Yeah. And I just got to that point of like, because I was doing so many auditions, and then some would be in person, mainly would be at self-tapes, but I was doing so many and just getting told no.
Yeah, 2020 was crazy. We did so many auditions that year.
Yeah. And so it was just this weird turning point of where I was just like, you know what, like I'm not, if I'm gonna do these, I might as well do them and like try to gain something from it. And then I was like really trying to make a point of like, okay, I could do all the safe choices, what I think a casting director might want to see, or I can make this self-tape entertaining. At least when they sit down and watch it, they might laugh, or they might be like, well, that was okay, I've never seen that before, you know?
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I ended up just doing. And typically it was just like, by following my instincts, it was just doing the slate alone.
I feel like you had always a very unique slate.
Yeah.
And I love that about you.
Yeah.
Because I think, like, I'm just trying to think of, like, if I was a casting director and I saw this person, that would be like, oh, wait, this is going to stay in my mind because he did something different.
Yeah.
You know? And that's the thing, like, you hear too, if you're like applying for a job, oh, you can print out your resume in a colored paper, because that's going to stand out of all the other resumes. I don't know if it could you could not get the job because of that, because they're going to be like, oh, this is not a serious person. But I do think that just standing out, you're going to be on the mind of the person casting or hiring or...
Well, I think it's just really getting to a point of feeling like it's like you're doing this for yourself now, you know? And like, so rejection, being told no so many times led me to that point.
Yeah.
And then now, I don't know, there's just, yeah. So, what about you?
I can only see rejection in like applying for jobs for me. I haven't really been, God, this is gonna sound so self-centered. I've never been rejected in a creative way, if that makes sense. Like anything that I applied to with my work in a creative way, I never been rejected by, but I've been rejected to job positions, if that makes sense. So like if I applied to a program and I had to do it through showing my work and put together a portfolio and do an interview for that, I've been accepted to that. But when it comes to jobs, I've been rejected to stuff that I would want to do. And I think it has a lot to do more with just experience. And it's so hard to, like, one thing that people don't really understand with working in the fashion industry is like it has a lot to do with connections and like who you know or where you worked before. But it's so hard to get into like a big fashion brand unless you worked at a big fashion brand before.
Yeah. It's such a stupid like catch-22. It's like,
yeah,
it's like you want to work as a server, but and this is like your first job, like a first good paying job, and like, but you need 2 years experience as a server.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
But that's the thing, because like even now, like just being in LA, I have 5 years of experience as working as a fashion designer.
Yeah.
But I still can't get in to like a bigger brand, like name brand company.
Yeah.
Because I don't have big name brand companies experience.
Yeah.
Which is so stupid because it's like what do you learn from those? Like, yeah.
I mean, but that goes into like almost not every industry, but a lot of industries. The film and television industry. So many people say it's all about who you know. Yeah, that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Or you can just fucking work relentlessly and fucking every time a door closes in your face, you fucking look to your left or right and find a new door.
Find a window.
Yeah, like so there's that. But yeah, in any industry, it's like, yeah, there's like, there's always these gatekeepers. But I mean, I've always just been like, I'll fucking break in, then lock the gate. That fence is not high enough. I know how to climb, so.
No, but there was one thing that I wanted to bring up, and it was a job that I did, I think it was a year ago. It was an interview that I did for a job. And there was something with that interview just rubbed me the wrong way.
Was this the one where
Yes. So basically, I was in this interview, and I first did the interview with like just a girl there, and I think she was like the head of the.
She's like hiring manager?
Not really. She was just like the manager of the division that I would be working in, and she was like working closely with the person that I would fill the role for. Mm-hmm. And so she did like the beginning of the interview, and I loved her. She was so nice. We connected really well. And then the boss of the company comes in, and she's like I would say mid to late 30s kind of girl, maybe even early 40s, but like still like a younger boss. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I got a good vibe from her, like when she walked in. But then when she sat down and started talking, and I just got the biggest imposter syndrome from how she was speaking to me regarding my experience. And this was not a name brand company. This was not a big, like if I named it, I don't even remember the name of the brand. But if I name it to you, you're going to be like, who is that? Mm-hmm. What do they do? But it was just the way she spoke to me.
Didn't she act like towards you like she was like, there's a lot of experience on here, but you're really young? Like she was like treating you?
No, that was my current boss.
Okay.
But it was just the way she spoke to me was just like I just wanted to get out of there. as soon as possible. Like, I started having like a panic attack being in that interview, because I was just like, I am so uncomfortable right now. I feel like an imposter. I feel like everything that I've ever done or worked for, or all of my degrees, they're just a lie. Like, I have no experience whatsoever. That's how she made me feel.
She was just very demeaning to everything on the resume? Like, how she was just dismissive and was saying like, well, this isn't good enough, like, how did she go about that?
Well, it was more like, okay, what did you do at this company? And I started talking about like what I did at that company, and she was just like downplaying it, like that was nothing. I don't know, it's hard to explain. It was just like, it was so much like a feeling of just her. I think she already had, because like
she already made up her mind about you.
She already made up a mind, because people are
that's
like,
someone who's married.
I am very young I'm not young anymore, but I do have a lot of experience for my age.
You're very young.
I'm going to flip that. I have a lot of experience for my age. I've been working in this industry since I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
And I have 3 degrees. Looking at my resume, people would assume that I'm older.
Yeah.
And I think it's a shock for people when they do meet me at an interview room. They downplay my experiences because they're like, oh, but you were so young when you started. Like, you don't have, and that always put a toll on me, because I'm like, why is that something against me? Why shouldn't that be something positive?
Yeah.
That shows that I'm driven of what I do.
The lady sounds like a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
And she sounds like she doesn't have as much experience, and she sounds like I think that's ridiculous. And
yeah. But what you were talking about was, it's actually my current boss that said that to me right after he hired me. He pulled me aside and he said, you don't have to put all of your experience on your resume. It looks cluttered. And I was like, but that's all of my experience though, and it's all in the field of what I'm applying for.
Everybody will have an opinion.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's like what you say to me. It's like, would you listen to this person's opinion, like, or their review or something like that? And it's like, well, no. But it still hurts though. When you hear these things, you're like, you have to be inhuman to not take it in a little bit. But it's good to like, okay, like, yeah, that hurt, but would I take this person's opinion? No. Yeah. But
no,
well,
after that interview, I was very, like, my creative process was just.
So if you, thinking back on this experience, is there anything you can take away from that, like any positive things you can take away from that, and things that you have since then like applied to your life and have worked on, and just you could build from that experience? Or if you're ever in that experience again, like, what would you do differently? So first question is like, what did you learn from that in a positive way, I guess, and then what would you do differently?
I don't know if I would do like anything differently right now, because I feel like it was still so
maybe
close.
Yeah, but like, is there a way that you could have stuck up for yourself in a sense? Because what do you have to lose? Like, it sounded like she's not going to hire you.
I understand that, like, it's so easy for me to sit here and say like, oh yeah, I should say this and this next time that ever happens. But I also know myself. I'm not an argumentative person, or like a person that.
You fooled me. I'm just kidding.
I love arguing with you.
Yeah.
But I don't like to argue with people who, out of respect, are in a position of. But I think the only thing that I've got the mindset of is, I'm not applying for a job to benefit the company. I'm applying for a job to benefit me, and they probably need me more than I need them, because they are the one looking for people. And I think that is just a mindset that I got into, because that made me more confident in going into a job interview. Yeah. Like, overall. And it's not about being like having like a high like hybris and being like, oh, I'm better than everybody else, everybody should be lucky to have me. It's not that. It's just more of like, don't be so scared of showing that you're worth this position.
Well, no, I don't. I think you should know the value you bring.
Yeah.
Of course I think that. But I think it's also important to be like, what does this value bring to the company?
Yeah.
And how can I make the company as a whole better?
Yeah. Of course.
I think that's really important to say that you don't. I don't know how you just worded that prior, but like saying.
There's people standing outside the door right now.
Just
looking
staring?
in. Yeah.
Well, just look out into the window and.
Smile and wave.
But
Smile and wave.
well, I mean, I think it's also important to understand like the value that understand your value,
Yeah.
but also the value you bring to that company, and you can make that company better. You know.
Yeah, I think they
Because that's important. But yeah, God, there are so many fucking flies in here. It's crazy.
We should bring a little.
Is there another question?
Yes, we have 2 more questions.
Okay.
What kind of job did you do before your career took off? And it was a dishwasher.
I've done a lot of jobs.
Do it from that. What was your first job?
My first job was I worked at my grandparents' donut shop, kind of as like the janitor. I would clean up after school.
How old were you?
Well, I did it off and on for so many years, but I mean, even when I got another job, I would still go there sometimes after school and would clean up. But like my first, I guess, real tax-paying job was KFC.
And how long did you work there, babe?
So my buddy got me a job there. Great guy. He's a lawyer now, by the way. Shout out to Galen. He's the man. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but he was always fed and housed a lot of me and my skateboarding buddies. We always stayed at his house. But he got me a job at KFC. He was a manager there. He like worked his way up from a fry cook to like manager. He got me a job there. I worked there as a fry cook for 1 day, and then I quit because
a fry cook. That's such a.
That's what I was getting trained as. But I was there for like 8 or 9 hours that first day.
Yeah.
It was fucking awful. It was awful. It was one of the worst things I've ever done. Anybody that's doing that, more power to you. You could literally do anything you put your mind to, because that was one of the hardest fucking things ever. I've done roofing, I've done construction, I've painted houses in the middle of fucking summer. Working in a KFC kitchen frying chicken was hands down the worst thing ever that I've ever done. I did that for 1 day. I quit. I got a paycheck from that. It was like $130.
That's good.
Yeah, I was like, all right.
You're like,
Maybe I shouldn't have quit. And then where did I work after that? I did a lot of like kitchen jobs. I worked at the Melting Pot as a line or a prep cook. Like I would get up in the morning, go open the place up, chop vegetables, make sauces, get the cheese ready, do all that.
you never prepped my food.
I made dinner 2 nights ago.
Never preps my food.
I mean, I've been a server. One of the funniest things was I was there was a point in time where I was doing construction in La Jolla
Yeah.
early in the morning, and then I was working at Stone Brewery as an event server and event bartender. And then a couple days out of the week, I was working at a retirement home in La Jolla as a server.
Oh.
No, but I was serving all these people that like I was doing their breakfast and lunch times. Sometimes I would do breakfast only, and sometimes I'm not drinking that anymore.
Okay.
Sometimes I would do just breakfast, and then sometimes I would just do their lunch. But I got to know all of the people, and they were so sweet, but it was really hard because my the manager of the of the restaurant, or it was the manager.
The manager.
Yeah, was a complete asshole. Like just. He would tell me I was talking too long to I was like, these people are on death's doorstep, okay? And
These people just want someone to talk to.
Yes, and this was a very, very high class retirement home. Like this was in La Jolla. Our dining room literally overlooked the ocean. Like remember, you know Iron Man's house?
Yeah.
Remember that big open windowed room? Imagine that, but like a bunch of tables in there.
Yeah.
Like so these were like really, really rich old people that that are staying there.
It's like that retirement home in Sweden, in Stockholm.
Yeah,
That's
the waiting
That's
list.
an 84-year waiting list.
Yeah,
84-year
Yeah.
waiting list. I was joking about that I should sign up my nephew, who's
As a gift,
almost 1 year old. I was
Yeah.
like, when he's 85,
he'll thank you.
he'll have a spot there.
Yeah, it wasn't. I don't think there was a waiting list like that, but I don't know. But it was very nice. That's what I loved about that place was I'd go there and I'd be serving all these sweet old people. There was a couple dickhead old people,
Yeah.
but I mean they're old, okay.
They can be.
But I loved that I got to overlook the ocean. Like it was such a great view.
Yeah.
But that was a crazy time because I was working out, doing construction in the morning, and then either working at Stone or working at that retirement home later in the day. But then some days during the weekends, I would be working at that retirement home, and then I would be working at Stone.
Yeah.
And I did that for quite a year and a half. It was crazy. I was working a lot. This was actually a really bad job too in Spokane. I was
The dollar store.
The dollar store. I was unloading trucks at like 4:35 in the morning, and then I would stock the shelves after we unloaded the trucks until like 12:31.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny because it was the Dollar Tree, and it says everything's $1. That's what the sign says. And these people would walk up to me when I'm like stocking boxes, like
They're
unloading.
like, how much is this?
Yeah, they would. That was like the biggest question. They'd be like, "How much is this?" And I'm like, $1. Like, you're in a dollar store. Everything is $1.
Well, everything is not $1 anymore in a dollar
Not
store.
anymore, but
No.
this was still at the point where
Everything was
was
$1,
$1.
yeah.
Everything was $1 at this place.
Yeah.
They sold food and stuff like in like meat, like lunch meat.
Yeah.
And I don't ever eat lunch meat from the dollar store. Don't ever buy meat from a dollar store. Don't do it. They had
Don't buy food from dollar store.
But one job that I actually had that was probably the most professional job that I had was I was a courier for hospitals.
Yeah.
In Spokane. I would drive. I would pick up these samples from labs, depending on what it was. I picked up organs and stuff too, which was crazy. But I would just transport stuff back and forth between hospitals. I would pick up stuff. I knew the doctors that worked in these labs. They knew me by name. It was really like I'd have this card that I could swipe in to get into these really high security things. It was a really weird job. Like I got that because I knew somebody.
Yeah.
And they were like, this guy is trustworthy. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He has a clean driving record. He
Yeah.
isn't addicted to pills. So I got that job because of that. And there was just some crazy things that I transported that were just wild. But that was such a hard job because I would drive for like 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And by the last couple hours, you're driving and you're just like on the freeway, like literally so many times I almost fell asleep. Like I did fall asleep, and then I would swerve back. And I was so young where I was just like, I should have pulled over and maybe just like closed my eyes for 10 minutes. But I was like, no, I'm like, I only have a couple more hours. I'm gonna keep going. And
yeah.
but I've done a lot of weird jobs. But before I started acting, I was serving and bartending, and then modeling I've kind of always been doing while I've been pursuing acting. So
Yeah.
what about you?
What about me? My first job was McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
That was technically no. My first job was actually,
That's McDonald's in Sweden though, which is very different from McDonald's in America.
well, listen, my actual first paid job was, I was, what is it called? Like a camp leader, for sports camps.
Okay.
So
How old were you?
the first time I did it, I was like, I want to say like 16. I did it I played floorball. So
Yeah.
this was a floorball camp.
Floorball champion right here.
And so I think I was like 16 the first time I did it. And then I think during the same summer, I did it also for like more like a sports camp with like all kinds of sports. Like more Olympic sports, I want to say, like that kind of like sprinting. But it was just like the kids were like at the age of like 6 to 12. And it was funny because I talked to Samantha, my colleague at work, about this the other day, and I was like, yeah, I was so happy about that job. I made like $300 for 2 weeks. And I was so proud. And I was like, I worked 12-hour days.
Yeah.
Keeping an eye on 10 kids every day for 2 weeks, and I made $300, and I was so proud of that.
I mean, that's not, I mean...
We did like a calculation. I was like, that's like...
$2 an hour?
Not even that. It's like one four
Yeah.
an hour. But I mean, I was young, and after that, I think I was 18 when I graduated my first degree in college. And I was like, okay, I need to get a job. So I got the job through a contact. I got a job at McDonald's. I had a friend who worked there, and she quit 2 weeks after I started. So I was like, you ass. And I worked there for 2 years. And it started with like my first day. I was also in the French fryer station.
Yeah.
I was just frying French fries.
Did you break out from that?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I got really bad zits from the KFC thing from one day.
Yeah, it was disgusting. But the funny thing too is like my first day at that job, I have a thing of like when I start a new job, I'm always coming in. Like my first day starting there is always like a special occasion day. And like my McDonald's that we were working at, like they did things for their employers. So like that day, they had like this whole event of like, oh, we're gonna go to Gröna Lund, like the amusement park in Stockholm City. So they rented a bus, and the whole company just went to Gröna Lund and did like a whole day there.
On your first day of work?
Yeah. So that was my first day at work. And I remember sitting on that bus, and everybody was like, who's that girl sitting there? Because I had just been by the fryer for like 2 hours. Or no, I hadn't even started. Like, my first day, I literally wasn't even working because they were just like, yeah, you can come with us. Like, you're
It was like an employee trip?
Yeah.
Okay. That I was like, well, who was running the McDonald's if everyone went on a trip?
There was a few people that had to stay behind.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
So that's interesting though, but you got paid to go to go. That's
that
only
was my first
only
day.
in Sweden.
That was my first day. But I made a lot of connections that day, so it was funny. And we did like you know how you did, like with the different competitions, and I got second place.
Yeah.
After my boss, he won.
It's a great idea too because it's team building. You know, like when you get your employees to all become actual friends, and then you have that camaraderie, like in your like in the workplace.
Yeah.
That I mean, it's going to create such a great work environment.
Yeah, and I do think that's the reason why I was able to stay there for 2 years, was because I really, really enjoyed the people I was working with.
Yeah.
Like we were like a family. Like because we were all like kind of in the same age groups. Like I think from youngest to oldest we were like 10 years maybe span. But I started working mornings. So I got there at like 6 a.m. opening up in the morning, and you worked with like the same kind of people all the time. So you always got to know these people, and you saw them in all shapes and forms of like if they were feeling shitty or if they were feeling like, you know, not if they were sick, but like some people came in hungover. And you just got to know them really well. But at the end, I think the last 6 months that I worked there, I worked in the breakfast kitchen, and I was making the food.
Yeah.
And at the same time doing that, I was doing my second degree. So that was in the evening. So I worked mornings at McDonald's, and then in the evenings I had school. So it was very long days. And at the same time of that, I started working at a place called Nalen, which is like an event space. I worked in the closet, like in the wardrobe.
Oh yeah, your coat check.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
And it was both like night shifts and morning shifts. Like if it was a conference, there was morning shifts. If it was night shifts, you would be working until like 2 a.m.
Did you ever lose anybody's coat?
No. And like we were really like same with that. I loved the people I was working with because it was like me and 4 other people working in coat check, and then the rest of the people were like security guards that I got really, really close to. So like the people that I worked with, the security guards there, I still have contact with them on Facebook, and we sometimes text each other and stuff like that. But also because of having the contact with them working in security, I got into security. So I started working as a security guard.
Which I think is hilarious.
I was a security guard.
That's so funny.
But this place, they had like the event space, but they also had a bar underneath, and also they had a different company working festivals where I would work in the like security check line of entering festivals.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, like that's not like a physically demanding job, especially there's a bunch of people
there. And it wasn't like I was just like security guard in that way, but one time I was working, because I started working concerts, and I worked for Robin.
I don't know what that is.
You know who that is. She's the one that sings, I keep dancing on my own, I'm in the corner, watching you kiss. Yeah, that girl. I worked her concert. And at the end of the night, they were like, yeah, we're going to move you to a different position. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go from like the entrance, because there was no more people coming in. And they put me in front of the stage.
To like block people? To
block people from entering the stage. And it was like me and like 10 guys who were like at least 2 heads taller than me, super buff, like actually... If you think of a security guard, like that's what they looked like. And then there was me, and I was just like standing there with my arms crossed, and I was like, do not jump the fence. Like, why was I there?
You're just a human shield at that point.
Yeah, no, literally. But I worked some really fun events. Like I worked a lot of concerts, and I worked Disney on Ice, which was really fun.
Did you ever have to wear like earplugs because the music was so loud?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I worked the Pride Festival, which was really, really fun. So a lot of festival work, which I do enjoy. I do, like, the only thing is like it's so demanding on your back and on your feet.
Yeah. I really miss like working in restaurants, if that sounds weird.
No,
I mean,
it makes sense.
Well,
it's a specific type of work environment.
Well, people, especially like back of house, I mean even servers too, but like back of house, like the kitchen staff, they have such a oh wow, that sounds better. They have such a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that it reminds me of is when I'm on set working with the crew. I mean, I love the cast and stuff, of course, but like the crew members, they have such like back of house like kitchen people, like their same sense of humor.
Yeah.
And so I always get along really, really, really well with the crew. And so, I mean, for the most part, every time I've been on a set, I always get along really good with the crew. So, but that it makes me miss working in a restaurant. Yeah. God, this sounds so much better. Yeah. Why did you?
I just noticed it. But no, and it's the thing too, because like if you work in the food industry, like time goes by so much faster because it's a different type of, like, you build a different type. It's like trauma bonding almost.
Yeah.
At work.
Yeah.
Like you build a little community with the people that you work with because you know you're stuck with these people. But also working in the service industry, you get so many crazy stories.
Oh yeah.
Like you get so many insane, and I think that everybody needs to work in the service industry at least once in their life.
Well, I mean, it just goes to if you're someone that eats out.
Yeah.
And you go to any type of restaurant,
yeah.
I think it's extremely important because it's like I've met so many people that are like rude to their wait staff.
Yeah.
Or they don't tip.
Yeah.
They're like, why do I have to tip? Or it's like,
But see, that's a different, like, I'm not even talking about that, because like in Sweden we don't tip. Tipping culture is not a thing.
Yeah,
in
but
Sweden.
that's because you guys all have health insurance.
You do tip if you go to like a restaurant and eat out, like a fancy restaurant.
Yeah.
You tip your waiter.
Yeah.
Out of the end of the meal, absolutely. But you don't tip anywhere else. But I'm just saying, like, how you treat your server or how you treat people in the service industry, because like there were so many times when I was working at McDonald's that I got yelled at so many people.
Yeah.
For no reason whatsoever. And I had this one time, I think it was one of my worst experiences. This was like right before I quit. And I was working in the drive-thru. I was the one in the second window handling out the food. And this, like, it was at the end of my shift. Like, I've been working since 6 a.m. It was almost 3 o'clock. I was about to clock out like in the next 15 minutes. And this was like the last couple of cars before I was gonna go. And this person, it was a girl driving, and then she had a guy next to her in the passenger seat. And they ordered like a bunch of stuff, like a bunch of miscellaneous stuff. And one of the deals that we had at that time was two 4-piece packs of nuggets for $2. That was a deal in Sweden. And I packed everything. I double checked the bag. Like, I was a perfectionist when it came to like packing stuff. Mm-hmm. I was very quick, but I was also very precise of what I packed. So I knew for a fact that everything was in that bag. And I hand out the bag, and then I like go back inside and I like focus on, okay, what's next on the screen? What's the next car gonna have? And like 30 seconds goes by, and I turn, and the car is still there. And I think it was cold outside because I had like closed the window. So I opened the window again. I was like, hi, like, is there anything that, like, do you want ketchup? Do you want extra napkins? Like, anything else that you're missing? And the guy from the passenger seat goes, you're missing the nuggets. There's no nuggets in here. And I was like, no, there was nuggets in there. Like, I packed them. And he was like, no, you're missing the nuggets. And I was like, okay, can I see the bag? And he was like, no, you can't see the bag. And like in that point, I was just like, I was so pissed because I was so tired at this point. I was like, I just want to get out of here. So I started getting like, I should have just given him another 2 bags of nuggets. But on principle, I was just pissed off by this guy's behavior and his attitude to begin with, because he was rude, like even when I handed out the food. And I was like, oh no, I do need to see the bag to be able to give you more nuggets, you know? And this guy, he just takes the bag and he like smash it into his hand. So everything in the bag literally gets just smashed. Yeah. And he tosses it on the floor. He opens his door. He goes around the car up to the window, and he just starts yelling, like cursing me out so loud in my face. And I'm just standing there, like just in shock, because all this happened under the span of like 5 seconds. And like everybody in the restaurant like comes up to like the cashiers and just like looking towards the drive-thru and like, what is going on? And people comes out of the kitchen, and it's like, what is happening? Because he was screaming so loud, and he was calling me names that I have never been called before. Like, this guy was on another level of screaming.
If I had a time machine, I wouldn't go back and do anything important except for I'd go back to that time, moment, and I would beat the living shit out of that guy in the parking lot. I would beat the shit out of him.
No, and
that's what I would do.
I was just standing there, and I could just like, I wasn't saying anything to him. Like, I wasn't triggering him in any way, and I just could like feel like I just started crying because I was like,
listen, that guy's a scumbag, and people do this all the time to fast food people. They'll say, oh, I don't have this.
I know.
Don't get me wrong. I've gotten stuff where they miss things, and it's like you.
But I'm also always super nice. Yeah. If I'm like, hey, like
I think
this got wrong, like.
I think a really good rule of thumb is, don't fuck with people that are making your food.
Oh, never.
Never. Listen to me. I've never fucked with anyone's food when I was working in a kitchen. I haven't done that before, but I have heard stories, and I know that it has happened. If you're a fucking asshole, and you're going to treat your staff and the people that are making your food with that attitude, you should just almost guarantee that you're probably going to eat spit that day.
Yeah.
Like,
We
or
never-
you're going to eat food that got thrown on the floor. Like, just don't be a fucking asshole to your wait staff. Just don't. It doesn't make any sense to me.
We always did. We never spit in anybody's food or like tampered with anybody's food. But if someone was mean to you in the drive-thru, we always were like, okay, you can go and park and wait, and then we just let them wait.
Good.
We just like let them sit there and wait for because we were like, oh yeah, we're waiting for this kind of things that you ordered.
Yeah.
So it's gonna take a little while. So you can drive up to this little spot and wait there, and then we just let them wait there because we're like, if you're gonna be rude to us, we're gonna be rude to you.
Yeah.
But I just my manager came out and he like took over, started talking to this guy, and he was like, just go home, go clock out, and I was like, okay.
It's so insane. It's like,
I was like, how would you ever, like, I would never in my life treat someone that way.
No, that person has probably so many other things in his life going on that are, it just,
And
his
then
life is.
And then I was thinking about the girl sitting driving, and I was like, is this your boyfriend?
Oh, she.
Like, are you embarrassed? I'm embarrassed for you.
Yeah, that I almost certain that they're not together still.
Oh no,
but
not at all.
But yeah, I
And if
fucking.
they are, I feel sorry for her.
I fucking hate people like that. It's like I've had servers that are dicks for no reason.
Yeah.
I've had servers that are like treat you like shit. They're really bad servers, and I just assume that they probably have a lot of shit going on in their life. And I think the best thing to do, especially if they're rude to your table, is like
nice.
tip them. You don't have to go above and beyond, but tip them and be like,
your day probably sucks.
well, I
hope you have a great rest of your day.
I think it would be funny is like to over tip them and be like, I'm not sure what you're going through, but I hope whatever it is, it all works out. And fucking leave them a big fat tip, and then maybe that might change the rest of their day.
Yeah, but I wonder if that's gonna be them like being like,
Oh, I should be a dick to more?
Yeah, I could be a dick to everybody.
I've worked with servers that I see how they're acting, and it's because I know personally that they have a bunch of other shit going on in their life.
No,
you know?
100%.
And a really big tip could turn their whole day around, and they could be
Yeah.
nice to everybody. But
Yeah.
some people are just assholes too.
Some people are just assholes. But I know for a fact if I see someone being mean or rude towards anybody in the service industry, I know that they have never themselves worked in the service industry.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because like everybody that I know who's worked in the service industry, they're always super nice towards servers.
Yeah. I'm just, if people are handling your food, don't be mean to them.
But it's not even just food.
It's
like,
so
it's
insane.
any type of service industry.
Yeah, but it's like you see these people that fucking yell, screaming like what your person is doing. Why would he not think you wouldn't shove one of those chicken nuggets up your ass? Like,
Yeah.
It fucking baffles me. Like, do you not, like, this is the world we live in. If you're gonna be a fucking...
They take the nugget, they rub it on the floor, and then they put it in your...
it honestly astonishes me. If I have any type of encounter, like if I was to have any type of encounter with someone that's making my food, I would look at you and I'm like, we're not eating here because I'm not going to eat someone's shit. Like, or I'm not going to have spit in my food. I was like, we have to leave. Like, I cannot accept any food from anybody here because why would I trust anybody?
Yeah. No, I understand that. Okay.
Sorry,
last question.
That was a long rant.
I'm trying to think if I did have any other jobs. I did work at a clothing store in Sweden before I left. That was the thing. The year before I moved here, I worked in the coat check. I worked in the clothing store. I worked festivals, both security and mostly security, but different areas of security. And there was one more job I did. Oh, I worked as a substitute teacher.
For what?
For high school students.
I know, but like what did you teach?
Anything they were missing.
But what was a day that you did?
I think one day that I did, it was like history. I think.
How old were you?
I was 20, and I was
never
teaching.
told me this.
I was teaching high school students.
That's interesting.
Um,
You've never told me that.
I have. But it was
You
such,
have not.
but it was such a like I only did like I think two times I jumped in.
Okay, well,
so it wasn't
you
like,
have not told me that. I
but
swear
I
I
was
would
like,
remember that.
yeah, but it was like it was such a like I never really in a way got into it because it was so short.
Well, yeah, 2 times isn't a lot, but
Yeah.
that's crazy.
But I had a lot of
How old were the students?
high school. You're 13 to 16.
Did you any specific grade, or is just whatever?
It was just whatever.
Well, 2 times you did it. So what grade?
I don't remember what grade.
I need
they were
more
in.
details. You've never told me this.
I don't know what grade they were in.
I need more details.
But I had a lot of weird jobs.
I also worked with my dad as a mechanic, which I forgot to say. I did that for quite a while with him.
Yeah. And then when I moved to LA, I got my first like design job. Cause like I've done stuff like working fashion shows. I've worked like a bunch of other fashion related small stuff.
I think the question was before you started doing your career.
I know,
So
but that's what I'm saying. Like,
I feel like anything related to fashion
oh,
isn't.
okay. Then I worked as a camp leader. Cause I was 16 when I did my first fashion related job.
No, I know, but I'm just saying it doesn't matter. We've talked too much about this, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. Do you think creativity is part of human nature, or is it something that needs to be nurtured and learned? Nurtured.
You said nurture.
I thought I said nourished. Nurtured and learned.
So wait, the question is, do
you think creativity comes naturally, or is it something that needs to be learned and nurtured?
Well, I think it's both. I think, I mean, as a child, I feel like you're just automatically, you're pretty creative as a child. Mm-hmm. I mean, like when you're playing, when you're sitting there playing, you're creating this world with your imagination. You're like when you're playing with a toy, if you think back as a child, like you really believe that toy is real, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I remember when I was really into Jurassic Park, I brought a bunch of trees into our basement. Like I ripped out plants from outside and rocks, and I brought in all of this stuff, and I had like these dinosaur toys that I set up like they were like Jurassic Park was down. And when my mom came down there, she freaked out because I had like literally dirt and trees and sticks and rocks. Like, I'm not kidding you. It was a lot. Like I brought in a lot of stuff. Like imagine this whole area with just bushes and twigs, and then I set up all my dinosaurs like the Velociraptor, the T-Rex, and then I had the Jurassic Park Jeep, and I had the little action figures, Dr. Malcolm and all those guys.
Yeah, sorry.
But what I mean is like I think just intuitively, if I'm using this correctly, like you're as a child, you are creative. You're creating these things with your imagination. But of course, if your parents nurture that, you're going to lean more into it as you get older, because I think at a certain point, depending on how your parents raise you, they try to like beat out of you being creative. Like I feel like we're all born kind of like artists in a sense. Maybe, I don't know.
I understand where you're coming from, and I do believe that it's both kind of deal. I do believe that you are the most creative when you are a child, but I also feel like if you're not allowed to like explore that, you're gonna lose it.
I mean, I think it's just the schooling system. I don't know. I can't speak.
It's not just the schooling system, but I'm saying like, because it's the same with like a language. If you don't speak that language daily, you're gonna lose it.
Well, I mean, yeah. If
like
any skill set, if you don't use it, you're gonna lose it.
Okay. Let me talk. I think creativity is a muscle. I think it's a muscle in your brain. Like it is a part of your brain, but I do feel like it's a muscle that you need to practice it, and if you don't practice it, you're gonna lose it. And like I do think it's something that needs to be nourished, because it's the same thing I'm saying with, like, for me, if I feel uninspired, my way of getting more inspired again and being creative, I need to force myself into doing it, because if I start doing it, the more creative I get, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, so the original question is, like, do you think you're naturally creative, or is something that needs to be nurtured?
I think you're born with a small amount of it, and if you're not nurturing it and keep being, because that's another thing that I do think that is why you and I are so creative, is that you and I are very curious. We're curious of learning new things. We're curious of exploring. And I think being curious is a big thing of being creative, because you're always looking for new information, new ways of looking at things, new perspectives, new, like, all of that. And I think that's a way of nurturing creativity.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think when you're a child, it's like, I mean, I guess I'm speaking from my point of view, but I just felt like I was extremely creative, and then my mom she nurtured that.
Yeah.
She was the one that was, like, really fed into all of my weird things that I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, like anything, if you don't practice it or keep doing it, you're most likely going to lose it.
Yeah.
But I honestly, I feel like people are born with it. I think you are creative, like, when you're born. I think everyone's naturally just, like, artistic.
Well, I mean, that's why I think kids are so creative, because kids are very curious.
Well, no, I mean, like, it just, the act of playing is pure imagination.
I know.
So, but the schooling system in the United States, I feel, beats that out of the kids pretty fast. I mean, like, I remember kindergarten, yeah, you did a lot of painting, you're learning, like, the alphabet, maybe not kindergarten, but they start structuring the way that you're learning. And, like, I fucking hated school. I hated school. I dropped out in 11th grade. I always thought from school that I was like, okay, I'm not good at learning things. I'm not smart. I was just like, maybe there's just something wrong with me. I need to find something. I found skateboarding. I excelled at that. So I was just like, okay, I'm not a smart person. I'm just this is what I'm good at, is, like, skateboarding. But going back to what you were saying, how we both are curious people and we like learning. I now have realized within the past, like, 10 years that I do love learning new things, but I like learning it in a
creative way.
Well, not just a creative way. I just like learning it in my own way, whatever that is. It's not necessarily creative, but, like, I like doing my own research on things. I like listening to different podcasts. I like watching documentaries. That's, like, reading interesting books. Like, that's how I learn. I hated the school structure. Yeah. Like, even I've done acting classes for years and years and years. I've done different types of acting classes, different types of programs, and I've had really good teachers, but still that structure of it. Like, everybody wants to one-up each other. There's little cliques in class. Everybody wants to impress the teacher, and it's like there's all these little aspects that I found a lot the same as high school. Yeah. And I kind of fucking hate it.
Yeah. I know that I hated school up till my first degree. Like, when I from my first grade to high school, I hated it, and I felt like I was always behind, and I had to go away, like, 3 times a week just to go read, because I had such a hard time learning how to read. So, like, even back then, I was going through, like, stuff of, like, learning difficulties. And then once I reached high school, I started doing my exams of exploring, do I have dyslexia? Which I do. And once I almost failed so many classes in high school because I was not like, I needed to be sitting in the front, like right next to where the teacher was, basically, because I also couldn't listen to what the teacher was saying and write my notes at the same time. So I just ended up doing nothing because I was like, I can't keep up. I don't see or hear what she's talking about. Like, I don't understand. They're doing, like, I couldn't follow the system of the school. But then once I reached college and I did my first degree, my first degree was, it was a 3-year course, and it was all about fashion. Like, yeah, I had some math, I had some Swedish, some English, a little bit of history, a little bit of religion, like just the things that you need to do your first degree, basically, in Sweden. But we had sewing classes and like creative classes that were 3 to 6 hour long, and I loved those days. Like, once I hit like college, I started getting straight A's, and like just my parents seeing that, they're like, oh my god, like what's the difference? And I was like, well, the difference is that I love what I'm doing, and I love the way that I get to explore the things that I love doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's why I kept studying. That's why I kept getting more and more degrees, because I was so like, I loved it, and I wouldn't even mind going back to school now, learning more, because I love learning.
You don't need
but
to.
It has to, I know I don't need to, but it has to be something that I'm passionate about, because just the general school system, if a child especially is creative in the way, like, it's so squared on how kids are gonna learn things today.
Well, I feel like, especially in America, and I can't speak for Sweden, but I feel like what the public school system is doing is creating workers.
Yeah.
They don't want like free thinking people that pursue things that they love and actually make them happy. And this might be controversial for me to say this, but that's what I think. It's like they're literally programming and creating workers. Maybe
this is like a very controversial thing to say, but I think that America's school system is very focused on America and not so much what's going on else in the world. Like, in a way, because like I took American history.
Oh yeah, that's all they teach you.
And that's all they teach you. They never teach you about history in the rest of the world. Yeah. I learned about history of the whole world when I was learning in Sweden. Yeah, but you did like a college program. No. General school in Sweden. We learn about the history all over the world.
But what I'm saying is the schooling, the American history that you took was a college class. When you did it here, is what I'm saying. And so that's not necessarily true, because we learn about like Christopher Columbus, but we get the very like,
that's still, like,
we get
America
the very
driven.
PG rated, like our history is very fucked up, and like we did a lot of brutal shit, which they don't talk about in elementary school. But
I don't know. That's why I'm always like, when I talk to you about school, I'm like, I want our kids to have a private tutor.
I think
just because I also feel like in that way, like, we can make learning more fun for the kids.
Well, no, I think there's important, like, obviously our children should know how to read. They should know how to do like basic math and stuff, like, so but for me, I want our kids to try lots of different things. Like, I want them to do, not necessarily have to commit to any one thing, but like, let them try jujitsu, let them try like different sports that might interest them, let them get into maybe like theater or something, like, and just if they have an interest, I'm like, well, we'll try it and see if you like it. If you don't like it,
that's okay.
Or if you fail at it, like, that's fine. You don't have to do that. But like, I just want them to be very open about trying new things. And pursuing interests that they have. Like, I think that's how you can create the best round, like the overall well-rounded like individual, I guess. But
I just remember I had this teacher for my first 3 years in school. It was from ages 7 to 9, I think. And I had this one teacher, Kenneth. He was the one that recorded a message to us on our wedding. He was so, like, we were his first class ever. Like, out of school for him, we were his first class to teach. And every assignment that we ever did, he was so creative. He was so creative in the way he was teaching us. With like the assignments that he did, with like he did these like table, what is it called? Like when you're eating, you have like this thing under your plate.
Like an eating mat, like a table mat.
Kinda. Like he did like
a placemat.
Yeah, he did like placemats for everybody's. Like we didn't have desks in his classroom. First of all, we were like seated like a big U. So everybody was like sitting next to each other.
They were all staring at each other.
Basically, yeah. And then he made placemats with like different history items. Like we had the man that's standing like, you know, like in a square and in a circle. I don't remember his name. We had
Da Vinci? Or
I don't remember. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to sound stupid. But
I just want everyone to know that I'm really stupid.
You're not. You're really smart. You're really smart.
No, I'm stupid.
Listen. And he had like all these different like they were like, it was basically a big mood board of like information. So we were always like every day we were seeing that and remember, like I can almost remember that thing in front of me because I saw it every day.
But you don't remember the guy?
I don't remember the artist that carved it.
Leonardo da Vinci?
Yeah, probably.
Because he was an inventor and an artist, I think.
Sure. And like we did like these like we were talking about like history in Sweden, and we were talking about like the Stone Age, and for the Stone Age we got to build these little villages of like how. So he was like in every subject that we were doing, he was like always thinking of a creative way for us to be creative and like learn about the subjects more than just reading it in books, which I appreciate. I know my parents really liked him too because he allowed us to be this creative too.
I had a teacher like kind of like that, Miss Dumas, I think was in 3rd grade.
It's so funny how you like talk about your teacher with like the last name. I only know my teacher's first name because
I can't even think of her. I don't know.
All of my teacher I've ever had, I only know their first names. I don't know their last names because we don't talk about their last names in school. We don't call them by their last names.
Miss Dumas was awesome. She was one of my favorite teachers. I learned how to read with her. Because like I got held back in 1st grade for not being able to know how to read, and then I was like struggling in 2nd grade, and then finally like 3rd grade is where like I understood it, which is crazy to think about because I think like most kids learn how to read by like 1st grade, but I was like,
I learned how to read in 5th grade.
Well, I feel better.
If that makes you happy.
No, but it's so weird to think back on school because like I remember in 5th and 6th grade I had a teacher that was the same teacher for 5th and 6th.
Wait, how old were you in 5th and 6th grade? I
got held back, so like I was always older than everybody, like a year older.
Yeah.
But
how old were you in 5th grade?
I think maybe 11 or maybe 10 or 11 or something. I don't know. I can't remember fucking ages.
I feel like you're older. How old are you when you start 1st grade?
Well, I think in high school you're like 13.
No, I think you're older. But wait, how many years are high school for you guys?
4.
Okay, our high school is 3.
Honestly, I'm like I would have to look this up.
But how old are you when you start 1st grade?
Well, you start kindergarten when you're 5.
Okay.
Kindergarten's like 5, and then 1st grade 6, 2nd grade 7.
Okay, because for us 1st grade you're 7.
1st grade?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to look at all this. I'm very honestly, my whole schooling stuff is so crazy to think back on because I switched so many schools and like I didn't even go to 8th grade.
Yeah.
Like I went No, yeah, like I didn't even my mom pulled me out because like I was missing so much time, like the first like month or something. And then she just ended up like pulling me out at 8th grade. And then that whole year I was just skateboarding.
Yeah.
And then we moved to a new district, and then like I just got enrolled into 9th grade, and I didn't go to 8th grade. So I missed a whole year of schooling.
Yeah. Well, let's round it up because I think people are trying to get in here.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah.
Thank you for joining us about the discussion of creativity. It's an essay when I do this. Creativity.
He'll fix that in After Effects.
Like SpongeBob when it says imagination.
Well,
if there's anything that you guys would like for us to talk about or discuss, I know some people have said like, oh, we want to hear more about like your relationship and like how you deal with problems. We'll eventually get into that. But I think for right now we're trying to I don't know.
we're trying to ease into it.
Yeah, but if there's anything that you would like for us to talk about, like please
comment below.
Comment below, or you can DM us on Instagram. But we would love to hear any and all feedback, any questions you have. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts,
Instagram.
Between us only.
All the links are going to be below.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for joining us.
Please don't forget to like and follow.
Yes.
Subscribe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for joining us, and you guys have a beautiful week.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thing.